a $13 billion strike group under threat. U.S. destroyers expose a hidden submarine 120 feet below the Gulf.
5:17 a.m., Northern Persian Gulf. The sea is calm, the surface almost glass-like, disturbed only by the slow wake of a massive formation moving through the water. At the center of that formation sails the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier stretching more than 1,090 feet from bow to stern. Nearly 100,000 tons of steel displace the quiet water beneath it, and more than 5,000 sailors and aviators operate the floating airbase as it moves steadily north at 18 knots. Around the carrier, the escort ships of a United States strike group maintain a carefully measured defensive ring. Radar sweeps the sky. Electronic warfare sensors scan the electromagnetic spectrum. Beneath the surface, sonar listens continuously to the dark and invisible world below. Inside the Combat Information Center of the USS Mason, the environment is calm but intensely focused. Green radar arcs sweep across digital displays while operators monitor acoustic data flowing in from the ship's sonar arrays. Every merchant vessel, every fishing boat, every biological movement beneath the sea produces its own acoustic fingerprint. Experienced sonar operators learn to recognize these patterns the way musicians recognize notes. Most contacts are routine. Tankers moving between Gulf ports. Cargo ships transiting international lanes. Occasionally marine life. But shortly after the watch rotation changes, a sound appears on the sonar display that does not match any civilian signature. At exactly 5:19 a.m., a narrow acoustic spike appears across the sonar spectrum. The operator leans forward slightly, adjusting the gain and filtering out surface noise. The contact stabilizes. A steady mechanical rhythm emerges, 5-bladed propeller cadence, slow rotational frequency, and a propulsion tone far quieter than most surface ships. It is moving slowly, deliberately, and beneath the thermal layer that often conceals submarines in the shallow waters of the Gulf. The operator speaks calmly into the headset. Possible submerged contact. Bearing 217. Range 4.8 nautical miles. No alarms sound. No one raises their voice. The information simply moves up the chain of command with quiet efficiency. The Northern Persian Gulf is one of the most difficult environments in the world for submarine detection. Average depths rarely exceed 300 feet. Heavy shipping traffic creates constant background noise. Temperature layers distort sonar returns. These conditions favor small diesel-electric submarines designed for stealth operations. Iran operates several such vessels, including the compact Ghadir-class submarine, a submarine barely 29 meters long but armed with heavyweight torpedoes capable of crippling large warships. In these confined waters, even a small submarine can become a serious threat. By 5:21 a.m. the tactical display inside the destroyer shows the contact slowly closing the strike group's path. The carrier alters course slightly, only 2 degrees, while escort ships adjust their spacing almost imperceptibly. On the flight deck of the carrier, helicopter crews move into position. No one uses the word attack yet. But the geometry of the situation is changing. At 5:24 a.m., the decision is made to launch an anti-submarine helicopter. Rotor blades begin to spin on the flight deck as an MH-60R Seahawk lifts into the air, banking south toward the contact location. The aircraft carries dipping sonar equipment and lightweight Mark 54 torpedoes designed specifically to destroy submarines. From above, the helicopter can search the ocean far more quickly than ships alone. The submarine below the surface continues moving slowly, possibly unaware that its acoustic signature has already been identified. Submarines rely heavily on stealth and patience. Their greatest advantage is remaining undetected. But once detected, their options shrink rapidly. At 5:27 a.m. the helicopter arrives over the suspected contact area and slows to a hover. Rotor wash scatters white foam across the water as a cylindrical sonar sensor lowers beneath the surface. The system sends out a sharp pulse, ping, and waits for the echo. Seconds later the return signal confirms a solid underwater object moving slowly at a depth of approximately 120 feet. The acoustic pattern matches a submarine hull. The report travels instantly through the strike group's tactical network. The contact is now officially classified as a hostile submarine. For several minutes the helicopter tracks the vessel without engaging. Military procedures require confirmation before weapons are used. The helicopter circles slowly overhead while operators analyze every movement of the contact below. Then, at exactly 5:32 a.m., the situation changes abruptly. A second acoustic tone appears inside the sonar room of the destroyer. This one is unmistakable. The sonar operator immediately recognizes the pattern and reports it calmly but urgently. Torpedo in the water. The room becomes perfectly silent. Bearing 215. Speed estimated 50 knots. Distance approximately 4,000 yards. Closing fast. A torpedo traveling at that speed can reach its target in only a few minutes. Within seconds, the carrier automatically deploys acoustic countermeasures. Cylindrical decoy devices eject from the hull into the water, each broadcasting powerful propeller noise designed to attract incoming torpedoes away from the ship itself. The torpedo's track begins to curve toward the decoy. At 5:34 a.m. the helicopter crew receives authorization to engage the submarine. A Mark 54 torpedo drops from the aircraft and enters the water with a sharp splash. Within moments its electric propulsion system activates, and the guidance computer locks onto the submarine's acoustic signature. The weapon accelerates toward the target at nearly 40 knots. Inside the Iranian submarine, the crew may only now realize they have been detected. Escape options in the shallow gulf are extremely limited. Diving deeper is impossible. Running at full speed would create too much noise. The only option is evasive maneuvering and hope the incoming weapon loses the track. But modern torpedoes rarely lose their targets. At 5:37 a.m. the first underwater explosion occurs. The incoming Iranian torpedo reaches the acoustic decoy and detonates harmlessly. A dull shock wave ripples through the water, barely noticeable aboard the carrier. Seconds later a second explosion follows, far deeper and far more violent. The American torpedo has reached the submarine. Sonar operators hear the destruction clearly through their headsets. Metal ruptures. Compartments collapse under pressure. Then the acoustic signal vanishes completely. By 5:39 a.m. a debris field appears on sonar screens. Small fragments drift upward. A thin layer of diesel fuel slowly spreads across the sea surface. The submarine is gone. Even after the destruction of the hostile vessel, the strike group continues searching the surrounding waters. Submarine doctrine often involves multiple boats operating together, one attacking while another waits nearby. At 5:51 a.m. additional sonar buoys deployed by a Boeing P-8 Poseidon confirm that no additional submarines remain in the area. The aircraft continues scanning a wide grid across the Gulf while helicopters patrol overhead. Gradually the formation returns to its normal operating pattern. The carrier resumes its original course. Escort ships tighten their defensive positions. Helicopters land for refueling. Inside the command center, watch officers document every detail of the engagement, times, bearings, speeds, weapon releases. Every event will later be studied carefully to refine future procedures. No one celebrates. Professional sailors rarely do. The entire confrontation, from first detection to destruction of the submarine, lasted less than 20 minutes. Yet within those 20 minutes, thousands of hours of training and decades of naval doctrine were executed almost perfectly. Out on the water, the strike group continues its patrol as the sun rises over the Gulf. Behind them, the ocean quietly closes over the wreckage far below the surface. Moments like this rarely appear in headlines. When naval defense systems work properly, the public never sees the danger that was quietly avoided. But for the crews who stood watch that morning, the lesson remains clear. The sea is never empty. Somewhere beneath the surface, something is always moving. And someone is always listening.